Shall I start?
Okay.
Om Sadashivasamarambham Shankaracharya Madhyamam Asmadacharya Paryantam Vande Guru Paramparam. Guru Brahma Guru Vishnu Guru Devo Maheshwara Guru Sakshat Parabrahma Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. Hari Om Shri Gurubhyo Namaha. Hari Om.
Okay, thank you. So I'll read as normal. So chapter 2, verse 44. For those who pursue pleasure and power exclusively, whose minds are robbed away by these flowery words, well ascertained understanding does not take place in their mind. The subject matter of the Vedas is related to the three variable qualities. Arjuna, be one who is free from the hold of these threefold qualities, from the sorrow of the pairs of opposites. Be one who is ever established in sattva guna, who is free from the anxieties of acquiring and protecting, and who is a master of oneself. For the Brahmana who knows the self, all the Vedas are of only so much use as a small reservoir is when there is a flood everywhere. Your choice is in action only, never in the results thereof. Do not think you are the author of the results of action. Let your attachment not be to inaction. Remaining steadfast in yoga, Dhananjaya, Arjuna, perform actions abandoning attachment and remaining the same to success and failure. This evenness of mind is called Did I disappear? One who is endowed with the sameness of mind gives up both punya and papa here in this world. Therefore, commit yourself to karma yoga. Karma yoga is discretion in action. So Satchitananda said if there's any questions about the text, you can ask the questions. And if I can't answer them, then I'll ask him later. And if there's...
Yes, I had a question on this. Can you hear me?
Yep.
That one, 1 minute. This one, first verse. This Yavanartha Upadane Sarvata, that first verse, that's the meaning. That if a small pond is not useful when it is flooded by water, that something is there, no? So I wanted the explanation on this.
Say that again. Sorry, I didn't quite understand. Tell me again.
Okay. First verse number 46.
46.
That first, yes. I needed an explanation on this.
For the Brahmana who knows the self, all the Vedas are of only so much use as a small reservoir. I don't think
Yes.
I can answer that question myself because I'm not so familiar with the Vedas. But my impression from reading that was that the Vedas are merely a stepping stone, and they're a means to an end. And for somebody who knows the self, they've already achieved the goal, or they have no need for the stepping stone to that final goal. That's one of the verses that I don't feel confident to talk about myself, but that's my understanding that the Vedas are. It's like like I studied Buddhism for many years, and there's many different teachings within Buddhism, and for example, you have Sutra and Tantra, and the Sutra teachings are like the runway, and the Tantra is the aeroplane. You need the runway. You need the runway because the plane can't take off without the runway. But as soon as the plane's in the air, the runway, forget about it. You don't need the runway anymore. It was a means to an end. So this is what I understand from this verse, but I don't know the Vedas so well. That was my impression. What do you think?
Yes, you are right. Even I understood the same thing, but needed a little bit elaboration. That's all.
Okay.
Yes, that's all. Yeah.
Has anybody else got any questions before we move on to the presentation? Okay, so I've got it's quite a lot to read today for me. I'll be happy if people interrupt and ask questions. So I'll be tired of the sound of my own voice. So I prepared an analysis of the I. What is the I? And I, as I said before, I did a long study in Buddhism, and I've been studying Advaita for a few years, and I wanted to ask Satchitananda about the differences between them, if there is any, on this subject. And in doing that, maybe it would be helpful for people, including myself, to get a better understanding of what is the I, and what is the I, in particular, what is the I that we're trying to negate, trying to understand is not real. What is this I? So we had a question and answer session, and I recorded it as well because it's easier than to try and remember all the answers.
Yes.
So I'll read it anyway. And so I begin the presentation with just a very short summary of the I as it's presented in Buddhism, at least part of this subject. So I'll read it. In Buddhism, it is said that the mind of self-grasping is the root of samsara. What is self-grasping? Self-grasping is an ignorant mind that observes the mere thought I, which does exist as a mere thought, and conceives that mere thought I to be a truly or inherently existent I. So what is the truly or inherently existent I? Important question. The truly existent I is the I we grasp at all day long, 24 hours a day. It is the person we think we are. When we think I, we do not think that we are the mere thought I, but we think we are a real independent entity that exists separately from all other phenomena, including our body and mind. This real, independently existing, inherently existent I, the person we think we are, is perceived. I need to turn off that microphone. Sorry. Where was I? Yes. This real, independently existing, inherently existent I, the person we think we are, is perceived to be the possessor of our body and mind. When we think my body is fat, my body is thin, or my mind is all over the place, or my mind is so clear today, we don't think we are just our body, or we are just our mind, but rather we conceive of ourselves to be an independent person who is a distinct and separate possessor of these things. Just as we think my car and feel we are the possessor of our car and not the car itself, we also think my body or my mind, and we feel we are the possessor of these things. So I'm trying to establish what we think we are, which is this real person. So when we are scared, we don't feel my body is scared or my mind is scared, but rather I am scared. And that I appears to be separate from our body and our mind. Like if we're walking through the jungle and we get attacked by a lion, we're going to be thinking, I am in danger. That I appears to be separate from our body and mind. We just grasp strongly at this person who's in danger. So we can say I refers to two things. One, the mere thought I, which is just a label. And two, the mere thought I conceived to be an inherently existent person. It is, so finally, it said that whereas the mere, sorry, I keep getting interrupted. So finally, it is said that whereas the mere thought I exists, the inherently or truly existent person, the independent entity we perceive ourselves to be, does not exist at all. It is just an appearance fabricated by the ignorant mind of self-grasping. There is no real person behind the appearance of a real person, just an absence of a real person, i.e. emptiness. So that was a long introduction, but then I asked Satchitananda. I read that to him as well. I read all of that. And then I said, following on from all of this, what is the I thought in Advaita Vedanta, and how does it relate to this analysis? So he said, the I thought is called, is that correct? Ahankara. And it means this vritti, this thought, this wave in consciousness where you believe you're a separate individual or a separate entity, when in reality it is just consciousness reflecting itself in this appearance of the body-mind complex. It's only an appearance. It's only something that appears to exist, but in reality it is only a reflection of consciousness, nothing more. It is just a wave in consciousness, an appearance in consciousness, which is also consciousness itself. It is not anything else than consciousness. Just like a wave in the ocean cannot be anything else than the ocean itself or the water of the ocean itself. It cannot have any kind of individuality. And when we speak about any kind of individuality in Advaita Vedanta, we refer to that as namarupa. We are self-imposing limitations to ourselves, and we will say that we are this I, when in reality there is no such I. So has anybody got any comments about this so far?
Hello, this is Nagaraju speaking. Am I audible?
Yes, you are.
Good. Just I was reading some article before the satsang, and the very subject matter of the I was being asked as a question from Ashtavakra Gita. And in that, there was a contradictory statement about what is I, and the self appears as everything. Okay, so the answer that was given was the witness consciousness can be referred to as I, point number one. Okay, and when someone says that, in Advaita Vedanta, it also mentions that the self includes everything that is within the consciousness. So the example that was given was, let's take a look at a lake of water which has got still water with no waves. Okay, and what we see as a reflection in the wave in the lake is you have the hills, the mountains, and the trees.
Sure.
All that is visible in the still water of the lake. Okay, so you will have to actually take that as an example to refer to this I as consciousness, and the consciousness of self includes everything. That means to say, when you look at the water pool has got the reflection of the hills, the mountains, the clouds, the sky, and the trees surrounding there. So it has got everything. But if you negate the fact that it hasn't got everything, if you want to look at the reality, then they are individual objects. So the I, the consciousness, also is a typical example of this reflection on the lake, is what they were trying to explain. So
Yes.
it's a very difficult subject to grasp.
Yeah, it's later on. Actually, later on in our talk, Satchitananda mentioned. Yes, he mentioned the moon reflected in a lake. Now, I didn't include everything in this presentation because it's quite a long. We talked for maybe 40 minutes, and it was a lot to write down. But he also used a very similar example to the lake. Well, the same example. It was the moon reflected in the water. And also, he gave the example of a rainbow, which is an example that Buddha used many times, and that both the moon reflected in the water and the rainbow, they appear to be self-existent. They appear to have a separate existence, but they depend completely on other conditions. The moon in the water depends completely on the lake, and it also depends on the actual moon in the sky. In dependence upon all these different conditions coming together, we see the appearance of the moon. So we understand the moon can't exist the moon in the water cannot exist in and of itself. It's impossible. It's just depends on other factors. Similarly, the rainbow depends on the sunlight, depends on the rain, depends on the position of the observer. And only when all these different factors come together do we see the rainbow. It depends completely on other things, which is the opposite of being independent. So it appears to be independent, but on analysis, it depends on many other things. So they're opposites, independence and dependent related. And the sky was another example that he gave. The sky appears to be blue, but we know there's no actual blue sky. And so yes,
so coming back to the question of what is I, what the way I have understood is, uh, the body is sentient, and this sentiency is actually illuminated by the consciousness. So that's the reason why it is said that we are a reflected consciousness, or pratibimba chaitanyam is what it is called in Sanskrit. And the I is typically meant to be referred as the sakshi, or the witness consciousness, or the actual awareness. So that's where when we are doing the non-dual meditation, or the Advaita meditation, we've been asked to emphasize more on being a witness of whatever that comes in your mind and floats in your mind. So we'll have to focus more as a sakshi, or the witness.
yes.
This is my understanding.
Yeah. Well, I think we come to this a bit later on as well. But yes, the I, as you said with the example of the lake, the moon, the moon is a reflection of consciousness. We can also say, I think we can also say that the person that we think we are appears to be independent, like the moon in the water. But it's not independent at all. That's our problem. I can speak for myself that if all day long I'm grasping at this inherently existent person. I think I really exist separate from my body and separate from my mind. I get upset, I'm happy, I'm this, I'm that. 24 hours a day I'm thinking me. But as you say, it's just a reflection of consciousness. It's just an appearance, like a rainbow, like the moon in the water, like the blue sky. It's just an appearance, but it appears to our mind to be more than just an appearance. That's the problem. We don't relate to ourselves directly.
Hello, am I visible now? Malti, am I visible now?
Yes, you are visible. Yeah.
Okay, at last. Okay, so the terms in Vedanta and Buddhism are only words are different, but inner meaning is same. These are only play of words, I think. What do you say?
They're really, really similar. The non-dual teachings are very similar, but in the Advaita, they emphasize more the witnessing consciousness.
Okay.
There's more emphasis.
Buddhism also that gives importance on this consciousness, because I don't know anything about Buddhism, so I'm asking you.
Yeah, yes, definitely. There's different schools of Buddhism. Some of the schools get very close to Advaita. Satchitananda himself was studying Dzogchen, which is the closest to Advaita, where there really is very little difference, where they really focus on the self, and they prioritize trying to, as we do in Advaita, trying to tune in, if you like, to that reality, our real nature. But they really emphasize that in Dzogchen more than in other traditions. But that's the main difference is this witnessing consciousness. Now, when I was studying Buddhism, my brother was also. We were both Buddhist monks, both of us.
Oh.
And when he was studying at a monastery, he asked a question actually, which maybe somebody knows. It's a question that Adi Shankaracharya maybe asked when he was debating with Buddhists. My brother said, "Okay, so you're meditating on emptiness. You realize, oh my God, I'm not here. This person I've disappeared." And then so he said, "Well, who realizes this?
Yes.
And I think
Who realizes that? Yes.
And this is
Who
an
realizes the emptiness? Yeah.
It's the witnessing consciousness. It's the I. It's the true
Yes.
I, the impersonal I. But yeah, nobody could answer his question. Nobody could answer his question.
Yes, sir.
Andrew,
So Vedanta is a
sorry. While you were part of the Buddhist monastery, was there a lot of practice on Hatha Yoga?
No.
Is it okay? Because their primary concept of Buddhism was to eliminate suffering, right?
Yes, one of the most.
Their primary concept is to eliminate suffering, and all the sadhana that one does is only to achieve that peaceful state where there is no suffering. That's the path that they take in Buddhism.
It depends on like I was saying earlier, it depends. Same with Advaita, and as Satchitananda says many times about the Bhagavad Gita, it goes through different levels as you progress through the text. And so you can look at Buddhism and Advaita as many different layers to the teachings. When I was studying, I really emphasized the teachings on emptiness, and what was the presentation I've done today.
Yeah, they call it as emptiness or shunyam.
We called it
right?
shunyata.
Yeah, shunyata, yes.
So I emphasize this personally, but there's many different levels to it. And I was attracted to Advaita because my Buddhist meditation that I was doing was very similar. I was meditating on like an ocean of consciousness, and I was trying to. It was very similar, but Advaita made it more like I was doing two different meditations, which in Advaita it combined everything. It was like a very direct approach, which I liked.
That is true. Yeah, agreed. Yes.
Are you a shishya of Swami Paramarthananda? You have his great picture behind you. Your backdrop is very interesting.
I think I got that from Satchitananda, but maybe hopefully we're going to meet him one day. Hopefully we're going to go to Sringeri in January, and then we'll try and visit Swami Paramarthananda.
So your travel plans are all finalized?
No.
Not yet, is it? Okay, fine. And while you are in India, Sringeri, what is your program? For how many days are you likely to stay there, and what is the kind of training that you all are planning for?
Well, we haven't really planned that much. I'm hoping to take sannyas vows myself, and so I don't know what's going to happen when we get there. Maybe if I'm very lucky, I'll get a meeting with the jagadgurus. I don't know. I don't know who can grant me the vows, or I honestly don't know. Well, we haven't really planned as such what we're going to do specifically, but I need to go there personally for the sannyas vows, and obviously we'll talk with Dr. Gaurashankar about our plans, because we've asked them for Sanskrit classes, we've asked them for chanting classes, and we'll just see how much they want to help us. And also it's good to go there for Satchitananda, because he received initiation there, and we don't know what's going to happen, but maybe they'll I don't know, they'll give him some advice, and they'll see that we're quite sincere in our wish to get as close to them as possible, and maybe one day they'll give us this branch status that we had before.
Fair enough. Fair enough. I too wish you all the success towards your endeavor. So let's hope.
So,
And while you are here in India and perhaps visiting Sringeri, do keep us informed. But maybe we will also try and make a visit at that time when you are there.
That would be great. That would be really nice.
Yeah,
Yes.
I live in Bangalore. I presume that your flights would go via Bangalore, right?
Yes. Yeah. We can definitely meet you in Bangalore even if you couldn't come to Sringeri, because last time we flew to Bangalore.
Yes. So from Bangalore to Sringeri it's about a night's journey, I guess. So
We took a
about
taxi.
6 hours journey by road. So let's hope that we get a chance to meet in person, face to face, while you're here.
Yes, that would be great, and I know that Satchitananda would like that as well.
before now I can call you as Andrew. Then after you take sannyas, I have to call you Swamiji.
if they allow me, they might say they might take one look at me and think, nah, he's not ready. He's not ready. 10 years of mantra recitation.
Okay.
We'll see. Okay.
So what I was thinking is, Andrew, sorry to interrupt.
No, it's okay.
If I come to Sringeri to meet you people, may I get initiation from Swami Sachidanda there in?
Yes, he can issue, because as you know, he has permission to grant the initiation of the Shiva mantra. He was given permission, and his permission in writing now. Dr. Gauri Shankar confirmed with the jagadgurus that he has permission to give this initiation. So he will definitely give that initiation.
Okay.
He can't give me. I asked him. I said, why can't you give me sannyas vows? He said, no, I can't because I'm a householder.
Yeah, he has a responsibility.
So it's not appropriate. It's not something that's done, as far as I know. It has to be also from a sannyasin to a sannyasin.
So you call yourself as a Buddhist monk, right?
I was a Buddhist monk for 10 years, up until about 2006.
Okay. What is the difference between monks and sannyasins? Monks, they don't have such strict rules, I think. Do they? Buddhist monks.
There's quite a lot of rules. Yeah. The tradition that I was part of, we had 10 main vows. But I haven't really, when I said to Satchitananda, maybe I'm thinking of taking sannyas vows, and he was like, oh yeah, you should. He's really encouraging me, and he says, I think you're ready. I think it'd be good for you. It'd be great for the community. He's very encouraging, but I don't know that much about it. I'm very much I leap before I look.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
I don't know the fine detail. Obviously I've been a sannyasin before, so I know the genre, but I don't know the specific details, so I have a good idea.
Good.
Shall we continue just a little bit with the?
Yes.
Yes, we are comfortable. No issues.
So where were we?
We were discussing about the presence of, or the meaning of I-ness.
Yes. And so I then asked, I just confirmed with Satchitananda. I said, as we were talking, I said, so in Advaita Vedanta, there's no separate, independent entity, I. It's just consciousness. He said, yes, there is only consciousness, nothing else. So then I said, I'm just trying to work out if there's any difference. Because in Buddhism, the inherently existent person doesn't exist. It's just an appearance. The appearance appears to be a real person, but it is just an appearance. And he said, yes, exactly. So I said, is that the same then as the I thought? It appears to be real, but it is just an appearance in consciousness. And he said, yes, exactly. So it's the same principle. The person that we think we are appears to be separate and individual entity, but is just an appearance in consciousness.
I have a weird question which has been in my mind for a very long time, but I haven't got an answer for it. Perhaps you could take this question if to Swamiji if.
Sure.
Okay. See, generally consciousness is explained in relation to an electricity or an electric wire. Okay, so the electric current, okay, that is carried within a wire, when there is nothing attached to that wire, okay, the current does flow inside it, right? So consciousness is very similar to that. But when you attach an equipment like a fan or any electrical equipment like a heater or a bulb, okay, the electricity illuminates that particular electrical device and makes that particular electric device function according to its need. If it is a fan, it rotates. If it is a bulb, it illuminates. Or if it is a heater or a cooler, it does its function. So this body is very similar to an incandescent bulb. Okay, so the consciousness illuminates this body, the chaitanyam, and we are in a position to actually feel our senses. Okay, with this body and mind complex, we go through our karmas, and the account of karma gets accumulated based on the good deeds and the bad deeds. Understood? Okay, this is clear. Now, what happens when the body leaves this earth or whatever, when the body dies? Okay, so again, they clarify the same example that, when the bulb stops glowing, it means to say that the bulb is no more active and it is dead. So similarly, the body is also dead. Okay, so when the body is dead, then what happens to the chaitanyam or the consciousness or the soul that we call? The soul gets merged with the consciousness, is my understanding. I don't know how this can be explained better. The soul gets merged with the consciousness, but how does the soul carry the causal body and all the karmas that gets accumulated? This is my biggest question. Consciousness and soul are more or less related. They are the same. That's what the Advaita Vedanta says. Okay, consciousness is at a bigger level, or maybe it's an ocean, and a soul per se is a wave. Eventually, both are the same. Okay, but when the soul departs the body, okay, it carries all the karma. So where is the soul? Is the soul and consciousness the same? Is my biggest question. Nobody seems to answer this.
I've got a kind of an answer, but you've actually inspired me to ask the same question, because from my understanding, actually, let me explain, and then I'll tell you the question I've got, which is the same as yours, really. So, when I was studying before, we talked a lot about the sleep, falling asleep and dying as being almost the same. So when you fall asleep, according to the Buddhist teachings, then your mind goes through many different levels, and there's different appearances to mind. And eventually, you experience what's called the very subtle mind in deep sleep. Then the very subtle mind is experienced for some time, and then the mind becomes gross again. It becomes increasingly grosser, and then you wake up. So
Yes.
it's like a wave of consciousness from the gross waking state through various levels of subtlety to the very subtle state, and then back out of the very subtle state, more increasingly gross, and then you wake up in the gross consciousness.
Yes.
And so, and the death process is the same. Your waking consciousness dissolves into a different level of consciousness. You experience the very subtle level as you do in sleep. The difference here is that the very subtle mind then leaves the body. So maybe you can call that.
Yeah, so this concept is clear and understood, but what happens is, there's a concept of this causal body, and the causal body comes out of the gross body, and it carries the karma. So your reincarnation is all dependent on the karma account. Okay, so does it not become an independent entity is my question. So the soul becomes an independent entity because it has to carry the karmic account. So how can we actually say the soul and the consciousness are both the same? But Advaita Vedanta actually explains this in this way, like, consciousness is universal, it's all pervading, okay, and it can be compared to an ocean. But the soul is a reflected consciousness. That is, it is like a bulb attached to an electric wire, and it gets illuminated because the consciousness reflects on the soul. And that's where you call it as a soul. But the soul and the consciousness more or less is the same. This is a very big question that I have been having, and I don't know when I can get an answer to this.
Yes, I would like to ask this question myself. I will ask your question, and I'll also ask, from my point of view, I want to know what's the difference between the very subtle mind, as it's called in Buddhism, which may be a synonymous.
No, the subtle mind in Vedanta is very well explained. The subtle mind in Vedanta is nothing but your thoughts, feelings, emotions, and all your involuntary actions of your body, like your respiratory system, your blood circulatory system. There's some amount of prana that actually ensures that your digestive system keeps working while you're in deep sleep. Your circulatory system continues to work while you're in deep sleep. So all your senses become dormant when you're in deep sleep. Okay, so there is still a subtle energy or the subtle prana that keeps your body active and sentient. Okay, so that part is clear. But the next level is your causal body. The causal body is explained only when the body or when the life leaves the body. Okay, but it carries the karmic account. So how does it carry the karmic account? So then it becomes an independent entity is my question.
Yeah, well, let's ask the question because I don't know the answer. But obviously,
Malati, you're in mute. Malati, you're in mute.
He wants the mechanism after death. I think so.
True. After death, what happens and how does it carry the karmic account? Okay, but then we always refer to ourselves as a soul. Then soul becomes independent of consciousness. So they both are independent, or if they are together as one, after death, the soul merges with the consciousness.
Actually, I read the book, Journey of a Soul. Nagaraj, even you also read that one, no?
Yeah. We both took it together. Yes.
We both. So it explains the step by step how this soul travels and gets its next step. It is explained in that book. But I
Correct.
don't know
But
whether
then,
it is so or not. I don't.
no,
That's what
correct.
I
But
don't.
then soul becomes an independent entity. That is my only doubt. Soul becomes an independent entity and it does not get merged with consciousness. But whereas in, earlier my discussion, I was telling you that, what is I and what is self. And in Ashtavakra Gita, he says that the self is all pervading and everything is self. So that's where they gave an example of a lake with a reflection of the surroundings. And when you look at the lake as an entity, so it is all pervading and it has all the attributes. It has got a reflection of the trees, it has got the reflection of the sky, it has got the reflection of the clouds. So chaitanyam or the consciousness is everything. But when
Yeah.
it comes to an individual, why do we refer it to as soul, and what exactly is soul? This is my biggest question.
Yeah. Okay. Well, we will find
Perhaps
out.
you could just take it across to Satchitananda and ask
Yeah.
him.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. Of course, I know the answer, but I don't want to appear. I'll just be humble. Yeah, I'll ask him. I'm also interested in that question. We're going to run out of time probably, but anyway, it doesn't matter. Next question. So I was reading a really great book, which I recommend if you've not read it. I can never remember the name of it. Oh, my friend took it. I can't. Sorry. A Search in Secret India. In any case, the author, Paul Brunton, was a disciple of Ramana Maharishi. And he said, the gist of Ramana's message is this, and he's paraphrasing Ramana. Pursue the inquiry, who am I, relentlessly. Analyze your entire personality. Try to find out where the I thought begins. Go on with your meditations. Keep turning your attention within. One day the wheel of thought will slow down and an intuition will mysteriously arise. Follow that intuition, let your thinking stop, and it will eventually lead you to the goal. So I wanted to know, how can analyzing the I thought lead to self-realization? And Satchitananda said basically, it doesn't. He said, it is not the analysis of the I thought that can lead to self-realization. It is just the recognition that there is no such I, there is no such individual I, and that this is only an appearance. This is only a wave or an appearance in consciousness, in the ocean of consciousness. And by recognizing the absence of an individual I, you will lead yourself, your real self, to the self-recognition that you are this infinite consciousness, this infinite awareness, Brahman. So it seems the individual I, the person that we think we are, is the obstacle, or the main thing stopping us from perceiving the self. And I was doing some meditation the other day on this subject, and because I keep thinking about this idea that, and Satchitananda says it many times. He says, you keep not noticing the self. I'm like, what do you mean? What does that mean? I keep not noticing. So I was meditating the other day, and my meditation, whether I was doing a good meditation or not, I don't know. But I was simply trying to do nothing, as in let go of any attempt to achieve anything, let go of all thoughts, let go of everything, just a complete letting go of everything. And then in that silence, also with awareness. So I was letting go of everything, but also watching, obviously, the thoughts subside, and also trying to watch or be witness to the person that I think I am, this thought, the I thought, me. I was also trying to witness this on the screen of consciousness and just let everything go, let everything go. And my point is that I started to notice that there was something else in there in the background. And this has been like this, for me, it's been like this for some time. When I do my meditation, it's like there's something, some presence. But I really started to answer my own question. What does Satchitananda mean? Not noticing. How can you not notice infinite? It's like infinite consciousness is quite a big thing. And how can I not notice it? So that's going on from this what I've just read out. It's like the I is an obstacle. The more you grasp at the I, the less you can perceive this infinite consciousness, and the more you can let go of even the idea of the person that you think you are, the more you start to emerge into a deeper level of consciousness. What do you think about that? Is that a fair comment?
Yes, I agree with you. So no matter how long you prefer to meditate or for how long you want to sit in the gap of silence, the mind still is active and trying to investigate where is that I, if I'm right. The mind is actively investigating that, what is that I, or what is that awareness, or where is that, and at least in my case, I was not in a position to find a gap in between two thoughts. That's what they usually say. So as you keep practicing, your thoughts will suppress, and there'll be some kind of void. But so far, I couldn't experience that.
That will come in time for sure, because through my own, I did a lot of meditation when I was a monk, and it takes. Everybody's different, and it took me some time to create the gap between the observer and the observed. So in this case, the thoughts of the observed object. I remember when I started meditating, I believed it was impossible to have a gap between thoughts. I thought it's not possible.
Exactly true. Yes.
But this is complete nonsense, actually. And over time, you just get better at it. You create more of a distance, and it's easier to become the observer. And the old analogy of the clouds going through the sky. So the thoughts are like clouds. Your mind's like the sky, and you stop. Oh, here comes another thought. Here comes another thought, and you just learn over time not to attach to thoughts, not to identify with thoughts. And it just needs practice. It's as simple as that. And then the more you practice, the easier it is to observe your thoughts and not follow them. And then the thoughts, they self-liberate themselves. You don't have to try to not think. This is a huge mistake. You just get into a massive fight with your mind, and your mind usually wins, always. You can't fight with it. You have to just observe from a distance. And then the thoughts themselves, if they have no power to exist on their own. They exist through the investment of energy, like the electricity. Like you were talking about, the electricity goes into the thought. But if the electricity doesn't go into the thought just disappears. And even the person we think we are, that thought construct can be observed in meditation. And then you start to feel a bit more space, and then maybe you can start to notice that there's more besides just me. There's this consciousness, that the witnessing consciousness. Maybe you can start to notice it more and more the less you identify with your thoughts, and in particular the thought I, because that's the biggest obstacle. I think.
Fine.
In the meditation, I am observing. That is also a thought, right?
Yes.
I am
Yes.
observing.
I am observing. Yeah,
No.
that consciously keeps telling you that, there is something that I am observing, I am observing, I am trying to observe. Yeah.
Yes, I am just in the process of finding the gap between the two thoughts. I am observing is there. Is that also a thought?
You can observe without. You can
No, the
observe.
mind constantly keeps telling that, I am trying to observe, I am trying to observe.
Mm.
You
Is
can,
it not? That's how it runs.
I think you can go beyond that, whereby you're silent. You're obviously you're aware, but thoughts and awareness are two different things. So you're aware of your thoughts. You don't necessarily thinking, now I'm doing this, now I'm doing that. You're simply observing, and you know that you're observing, but you're not thinking. You're not thinking I'm observing. You simply know that you're observing your thoughts. That's what I think.
So it means I still need a practice on this. long practice.
Yes, it's the most beneficial. One of the most beneficial things you can do to this practice. It's because once you start to see the very person that's thinking, if you start to see the thought construct that is I, if you can start to see that and not identify with that, then I think it's a big step. And you can do it through this practice, this kind of meditation that we do in Advaita. Okay, we finished.
Yes.
Well, we haven't finished, but we finished.
Yes.
But
We had a good discussion today. Yes.
Yeah, it was nice. It was good. But you can read the PDF if you haven't already. And thank you very much. And we can close with some prayers.
No, it's very rare occasion to hear the Andrew's voice. Today we have that opportunity.
No, we got to know more about Andrew David today, so
Yeah.
very, very happy about that. Yes.
Thank you. Yes, I enjoyed the discussion.
How did you meet Swami Sachidanda?
Pardon?
How did you meet Swami Sachidanda?
I just met him over the internet on Facebook. Maybe I liked one of his posts, and he sent me a friend request. And then when I saw his website and I was reading his material, I thought to myself, I think this person is possibly a real sage. I don't know, but I think so. And so I decided to contact him. I said, rather than just think of it, I thought, no, he's in Greece. I said, can I come and meet you? So it was difficult because it was during the lockdown. So I didn't meet him for a few months. And we actually met in Athens at the Indian embassy when we were collecting our visas to go to Sringeri.
Okay.
That's okay. That's good. Very interesting. Yes.
But that was it. Yeah.
Nice. Thank you.
And you both are staying pretty far between each of you, is it?
It's about an hour and 20 minutes on the bus or in the car.
Okay.
So I've gone through quite a few times to his house and met his family. They're unbelievably beautiful. His daughters and his wife is so light and peaceful, and the daughters are lovely.
Very nice. Nice to know that. Thank you. Okay, we'll have a closing prayer.
Yes.
Purnamada Purnamidam Purnat Purnamudachyate Purnasya Purnamadaya Purnameva Vasishyate. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Hari Om. Thank you.
Thank you very much.